In this video, I wanted to go over how I took this trade yesterday, a few trade breakdowns from yesterday in relation to the order flow and Exocharts, the trade management specifically, and also some entry triggers that I was using in particular to get into these trades. So one ended up being a winner, one ended up being a loser, and ended the day being a 1.3R up overall, I believe, in the end after checking my journal and everything. So the first trade, understanding the context of it first, obviously I always start off by saying have a level of interest. And for me, that level of interest yesterday was actually coming in above this high here. I put it on the Twitter beforehand, and the reason for that was because if you after this swing high, the next swing high is actually a significant gap towards the upside. Okay, and I'm expecting if this swing high, if you get an SFP here, if you don't get an SFP here, that you're more than likely going to be testing this swing high up here. Okay, so obviously the first touch of the level, just so you can understand the context, you come up to level first of all, and I head over to Exocharts to break this down. What happened was, if you just go over to here, I've got it playing in real time. Okay, so we're in New York session here. Okay, just so you can refer to it, 1:35 my time. Hit the play button. Let's just go over this. So it's coming up, and let's, it would be actually good if we just mark this level out on the chart. So this level's at 26,555. Okay, 26,555. Mark that out there. So this is the level of interest we got coming towards us. Hit the play button. Okay, I'm playing it quite slowly. Price comes up to the level. It's coming up. Okay, first of all, a few things to kind of play out here. So we've obviously seen a move up to the level, and within the, what am I looking at within the FPBS, the footprint bar statistics and the open interest, etc. Well, a few things I've noticed. First of all, there's a significant spike in volume. Compare it back to the last 20 candles or so. How does that volume compare to the last 20 or so? Is it higher or lower on average? Just by eyeballing the data, it's higher in my opinion. You then also see a significant spike in positive delta. Great. But I'm waiting for this candle to close. I'm waiting for this. I'm never really going to just jump in straight away. For my entries, I do wait for candle closes. Sometimes I do anticipate that, and I also tag that within my journal. But if we just hit the play button here, whoops, rewind this a bit. I'm waiting for this candle to close. And once this candle has closed, okay, I'm simply waiting. I simply will scale, and again, go back to these orders, this video before where I go over how to get in at limit all the time. I simply place my limit orders, staggering it above this price action here. So as soon as it closes, I scale my orders above. So this move down doesn't scare me because I've seen it plenty of times before where we will just drop down, test this zone again, and as long as my invalidation, in my opinion, wasn't actually above the high, it was above this point of control here. As long as price didn't reclaim this point of control, okay, we'd be seeing, I wouldn't be looking for lower prices. So obviously I hit the play button here, and obviously remember I've set my limit orders above this close here, so I still haven't been filled yet. Whilst this move is down, I haven't been filled yet. So be it. Sometimes I get I get a bit worried about this because sometimes the price can run away. Very rarely it does happen. But in this case, I've scaled my orders as usual with the same invalidation. Volume spike on price, trapped value area. Really important. Price has closed outside of this value area, trapping all that positive delta within this. Whilst obviously having like fairly extended positive delta in that case. Hit the play button here. Okay, look, boom. So this is exactly where I'm getting filled. Whilst this I remember this very clearly. Whilst this 5-minute candle appeared, this is exactly where I'm getting filled. Hit the play button. Okay, obviously it then trades up a bit, trades up. Doesn't surpass the POC at all. Okay, it tries to push up, but eventually it ends up coming back down. And I want to talk about the trade management on this one because I had planned to hold this for quite a bit longer than it had gone on for. So you can see obviously where I got filled was around here. My validation was above that POC. It never took it, and you can see why. But we had the level of interest, obviously the retrace, the trap value area, the volume spike. You didn't have that many liquidations. I'll say that. There's a few things. You had the volume spike, you had the extended delta, but you didn't have an extensive amount of liquidations. You only had 714, so bear that in mind. You then obviously come up, don't take the POC and then start rejecting. Now let's just go back over to trading view for a second, because my overall intention for this trade was to actually realistically, I was trying to take this back down towards this low here. Okay, I had alerts set on this low here, and also I was monitoring price action at the time, like literally on order flow. That's what we're going to talk through now, because I ended up closing a large majority of it after seeing what happened down here. Okay, what happened down here, and let's just go over that now because this is like fairly extensive, advanced stuff. So if we just hit the play button again, let's just reduce the speed a little bit. Hit the play button. So price is coming down. And then you obviously have this initial low, okay? And this is what I'm referring to. You have this initial low, and then price starts to just go sideways, beside it for, 5, 10, 15, 20 minutes of just sideways action, after this initial low was put. And you can see just sideways, 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 reduces pace a bit because things are about to get tricky in a second. Still continuing sideways, okay, after the initial lows put in. And at this point in the time, honestly with you, my plan was still the exact same, still targeting this overall low down here. So what changed that? Still this is still going on, 5, 10. So let's just pause it here quickly, because look at this. You've put this initial low in on the chart, and then you're going 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30 minutes of just sideways actions. And what is that doing? That's generating stop losses beneath this low potentially. Okay, that's what's going on in my head. Obviously, I didn't know this was going to swing failure pattern. I actually still thinking this was just going to continue plummeting down. That's the honest truth in my head, what I was thinking. Hit the play button. See what's going on. It's still trending around these regions. Okay, here's where we get it, because we now take out this low, and I'm still thinking, okay, cool, this is still looking for lower. But then what happens straight after this is this. If we hit the play button, this happens straight away. And at this moment in time, this is where I'm thinking, okay, this doesn't look amazing to be holding this position now. Why? Well, holding at least a lot of it, because you literally just had a low put in, initial low put in on the chart, 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30, around 35 minutes of just sideways of price action, people generating stops beneath it, before then stopping all these people out with the decrease in open interest. Okay, you can see that down there, whilst also having a trap value area near the low, and then literally reversing straight away. At this moment in time, I'm frantically going over to my InSilico, well, not frantically, but I go over to my InSilico terminal, and I chase close 75% of the price action of my position, 75%, okay? Because this is like, through what I've taught you before, this is a really nice low to be holding in terms of price action. You can then see it just literally continues to rocket up from there, and luckily I was able to get out of that 75%. I then obviously retraced it quite a bit, but the overall idea was that I closed 75% of this, and then obviously when I saw it dip down again, I left the remainder running on this still to 25%, and then I only closed it really once I saw price. Let's just fast forward this up a little bit. I closed it really when it was like around here, and I remember this really carefully, because I saw obviously you had the nice low put on the chart, a nice move towards the upside before then come back, retesting almost the region where you've placed that initial low in. Okay, but, you can see here, this is the nice low. You've seen the volume spike, spike in open interest in terms of stopping all those initial positions out that I've discussed here, 35 minutes of sideways, before then seeing the obvious move up. And I thought at this case, okay, well, that remaining 25% is more than likely to close it, because yeah, we've got a nice low in on the chart. I don't expect these people, to really be holding this short much longer. And I'll go through these dots, probably are creating some curiosity that I'll go over in a later date. But obviously, yeah, you can see then comes up, if I was to keep it on, I would have got stopped out. And I didn't just sit there in a deer in headlights, kind of just waiting for this position, okay, to be kind of stopping me out at entry. I was kind of actively trying to maximize my R multiple from that. Let's move on to the next trade now, but hopefully that made some sense. So just going over this next trade now, and this next trade again, let's go over that level of interest and how that important that was. Well, again, like I said at the beginning of the video, in the same day, obviously we took that one trade. It went decent. Again, what really was quite good for me on that last trade was actually my trade management, based upon just closing it fairly quickly upon seeing the reaction I saw down here. I could have just been sitting there like a deer in headlights waiting for my level to be hit. I didn't. I had to react upon the chart before obviously then price moving up. But I said this high on the chart, the next swing high is up here. Okay, so what actually happened was, I remember looking at this on the linear contract as well, where price essentially, and over even here, right, price actually literally creates like a double top, a double kind of top where it just like equal highs up here. Okay, and I'm thinking to myself, well, it's swing failure patterns here, but not to any sort of extent. This is not really, I don't like swing failure patterns which are like by $1. I like to see a bit of a tiny bit more of a wick through it. So I saw this one and I was like, okay, I'm going to remain patient now. There's still no trade here for me. And obviously at the time, linear still hadn't actually taken that high. So if we go on to BTC USDT, it actually hadn't taken the high. It was just front running it. So then what I then saw was another swing failure pattern of this high. Okay, and in hindsight, there's a few reasons why I shouldn't have taken this trade, but I still took it, and I'll talk you through why. But you obviously then take that liquidity, and in my eyes, you're taking not only this high, but also the prior high's liquidity. Because above this high, look at this. What's the next gap? There's a big gap, honestly, until like at least these order blocks up here. So just keep that in mind. In terms of like taking this trade, let's head over to the order flow. I think let's just break this down. This is that initial high you put in, where it's equal highs almost, and on the other side of things, it doesn't look, on the linear, it hadn't taken it. But on the order flow side of things, it didn't look awful. You had a trap value area, spike in volume, but I didn't take this one. Let's just fast forward it a little bit. Okay. And this is where realistically I'm actually going from, the side of trapped long positions, a bit of extensive delta, but there was a few things missing, and a ways I could have improved on this trade, but there was still valid reasoning for taking this from my experience, okay? Where you actually swing failure pattern that high, where you swing failure pattern both those prior highs, okay? You then also see within this is what really caught my eye, that if I just zoomed in here, you would have seen in the previous candle here, you had actually 700,000 new longs opening. You then swing failure pattern again with another set of new longs opening towards the high. Okay, and I'm thinking to myself, okay, those new longs have the potential of being trapped. I've seen these fairly low volume reversals happen as well before. Okay, whilst also at this time, BTC USDT linear had actually taken the high at the same time. So I was like, okay, we've actually taken liquidity now. What would have been better is if we saw actually a bigger decrease in open interest upon sweeping the highs to show that people had actually been stopped out locally. We didn't, and this obviously then ended up being a higher low before trending higher. But again, in terms of risk management, what was so crucial about this was, I didn't actually hit any sort of TP on this trade. It's essentially just formed a higher low before trending much higher. But I wanted to talk you through both those two trades there. Obviously, we had that within this trade here, we had those new longs opening with the SFP, with like the double top being swing failure pattern. I thought it was worth the trade, to be honest with you, as well with the linear taking it. You did have a slight increase in volume again, comparing to the last 20 candles on average. It wasn't extensive volume, 4 million, you had all these volume spikes here, but comparing to the other candles, it was still a decent spike in volume, I would say. Point of control near the high, and depending on the tick size, you could have had a trap value, but I'm not going to manufacture that for any sort of reason, okay? Literally, this is exactly what I saw in the lifetime. And so, obviously, that was a trade I took. It ended up being a loser. And this, would I, the question to really ask myself is, would I take this trade again and again and again? And the answer probably would be no. And probably, just looking back on that now, it was probably due to the fact of that swing failure pattern being the linear, swing failure patterning actually on the linear pair, which caused me to take the trade. And, again, looking back on it, probably shouldn't have taken it from that perspective. But again, this one here, very, very good. And again, I just want to talk you through, honestly, the mistake I made here, rather than just coming up with all the, saying I won every single trade, because that's not true by any means, okay? The mistake I kind of made here, in terms of I wouldn't take it again, but this trade here, I 100% would be taking again. This is kind of a bread and butter type of trade for myself. And I just wanted to talk you through the order flow side of things, because this has order flow significance. This didn't have as much conviction in terms of the order flow, in terms of what I like to see: volume spike, extensive delta, liquidations. Yeah, I still took it due to trading view reasons and exchange reasons, in terms of the pair being taken on other exchanges. So hopefully this makes sense. Hopefully you can see how I took this trade again. Just so you're aware, I had hard stops on both of these. So stop loss placed in the book above the point of control and above the high in this case. And you can see, obviously, -1R in this case. I just got stopped out for those who were interested in that. This is probably the last time I'll mention this. If you are interested in the mentoring, head over to the link in the description, luxury.trade. It's literally just one-on-one sessions with myself. It's go through an application process. So if you are interested, it's not for everyone by any means. Just click the link in the description, fill out the form below, and I'm going through applicants this weekend. So if you don't have a spot, then I'll be in contact regardless whether you get it or not. Yeah, be sure to apply if you do feel it's for you. Just come down to the bottom, hit the apply here button, and fill out the quick information there, and it won't take any longer than really 5 or 10 minutes. So thank you, everyone.